Not every man, but always a man. Today on the Man Space. Welcome to the Man Space podcast. We're your hosts, Doctors Matt Brown and Rob Porter, and clinical therapist Mike Porter. Welcome, spacemen, to a somber, I don't know.
Dude, why do I have explorers behind me?
Yeah, what is happening behind Matt's head?
Are they climbing Mount Everest?
No, it's Harmon Hoke.
Oh,
And it's a hike through Ecuador. Which I'm like, what?
If you say so.
Snow-capped peaks in Ecuador? Andes, I guess. Those roll into Ecuador. I don't know my
I thought the
geography.
Andes were
is Ecuador
Argentina, weren't they?
right? Does it border Chile?
No, it's on the. I don't know how high does Chile go. Ecuador is the equator,
I thought
isn't
Chile and Argentina are pretty long.
it? Chile's very long.
Chile is long and skinny. Argentina, I didn't think it was that long. I'm on it.
Chile.
Ecuador, the ice cream scoop on top of the cone.
Argentina is the... Ecuador is not anywhere near Chile or Argentina.
It is right next to Peru.
It's on the coast, though, right?
Yes,
Because aren't the Galapagos Islands
It is
part
on.
of Ecuador?
It's on the north.
And yes, the Galapagos are off
west coast.
But it butts up against Peru, so it would be the they must be the Andes then that they're bumping into. Who knew? Somebody knew. Definitely not me.
The guy who made the map does.
Or is that what he wants you to think? Well,
And to drink. Oh no! Wait, that's right?
Peru.
Peru.
Yeah, and to drink. Ta-da! Peru.
Okay, so you know the guy who plays Ricky?
Classic. Yeah.
Did
Also
you know
in,
the like?
Wait,
Also in was there?
I'm like,
more
what's
there?
the first one we're talking about?
Oh, you stopped. Yeah, isn't it also
You stopped.
I stopped because you were saying you kept going. Isn't it also the guy in no, I'm mixing it up. In Welcome Back, Kotter? No. What's the show I'm thinking of?
No, I don't think he's in Welcome Back, Cotter. Head of the class.
Head of the Class, that's what I'm thinking of. Welcome Back, Kotter was too
That's
old.
what I just said.
I don't know.
How
I didn't
delayed
hear
am
that.
I?
Why did you say that?
I don't think you're delayed at all, but me and Rob get the weird delay when we're in the same room.
I said head of the class like a good 30 seconds before you locked into it.
Well, you're over there with the fiber. Leave us alone.
And, yeah. Anyway, the actor's named Dan Harmon.
Dude, is that the guy that wrote
And-
Community?
Probably not.
No, I think that's someone else. It could
Doesn't
be.
look like
Dan
the
Harmon
Dan
is the guy who did all the Nickelodeon shows.
He wrote all the Nickelodeon shows, or he was on them?
Yeah, like he created like iCarly and
Oh,
Yeah, different. This is the same guy who made Rick and Morty.
but he's also the guy who got in serious trouble for
Yeah, like I thought we had drinking
the way he
problem or
treated
something.
people on his shows
well,
or something
Yes,
like
that's
that.
a real
I
good
didn't
segue
know
into our
really what it
topic
was.
today.
I just didn't realize that was the guy. But there you go. That's Ricky.
Dan Harmon,
Yeah.
but not that Dan Harmon.
Not what Dan Harmon.
Not Rick and Morty Dan Harmon.
I think so.
What? You shut your face.
90% sure. I think there's only one Dan Harmon, dude.
Hold on. Let me get some milk. Name that movie or name that commercial.
I have no idea.
It's
He did write Community.
It's a gut milk commercial.
this is the one where he's trying to answer the radio question.
Yeah, it's Aaron Burr.
Aaron Burr.
That's why long before Hamilton, I only knew who killed Aaron Burr or who killed Hamilton because of that milk commercial. It's Aaron Burr. when the milk doesn't pour out. No! Oh, I got some milk. Amber.
Maybe
Sorry,
it's not him. I thought it was him.
I mean, I'm looking it up.
I
Our
must be
listeners
thinking
are
of someone else.
listening-
I could
no.
have sworn it was Dan Harmon.
Definitely not him.
No, Dan Harmon did do.
No, I know, but he's not the actor in the guy who wrote Community
sworn
and
his
Rick
name
and
was
Morty
not
is
an
not
actor,
the guy
right?
in Heaven
Yeah.
Class.
All right, so now I got to figure out who that guy is.
This is the funniest episode. I wonder why we're ending. Who could-
What's the name
only
of?
someone
You
could have
missed my
known.
comment from earlier too. Like this is your
Dan Schneider.
Dan
There
Harmon
you go.
reference was perfect. A perfect segue into our topic.
It was? Oh,
Yeah,
it
because
was.
of horrible stuff he did.
Mm-hmm. Well, Dan Schneider did do horrible things, and Dan Schneider is the guy from. Yeah, he's the guy from Better Off Dead, and
He's probably the guy who wrote. Yeah,
Head of
he
the
wrote all the
Class.
Nickelodeon stuff.
yeah.
Dan
Sorry,
Schneider did.
I was right about the actor. I just had the name wrong.
Yeah, he was like the boss or something in Good Burger because he wrote Good
Yeah.
Burger.
Yeah,
And Less Than Jake did the theme song for Good Burger.
Did
He's
they
a dude.
really?
She's a dude. We're all dudes. It's so bad. Fascinating. I can't believe what a stupid podcast it's been so far. People are listening to us look people up on IMDb. Worth it. We can do what we want because I have a microphone. You listen to every word I have to say.
Gonna say it's a heavy topic today anyway. So
I know. Matt's
See?
bringing the house down. The
they'll
thing that
appreciate the Dan Schneider thing in a minute.
the quote that I was bringing up was one of my clients was really annoyed at this. You guys haven't heard that quote? Not every man, but always a man.
no.
So the idea is that it's like
Oh yeah.
not every man does these terrible things, but it's always a dude who does these terrible things.
Yeah.
Not according
And
to Terry
one of my-
Crews.
What
Wait, what?
does
What's
Terry
Terry
Crews
Crews
have to say while he's making his pecs dance for us?
Terry Crews, when the Me Too movement happened in like 2017, tried to raise awareness of times when women will like sexually assault men, which happened to him.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, people made fun of him, and yeah, like we don't talk about the fact that it does go the other way, but it does go the other way.
It's just like when we would talk about violence in relationships in my classes, and I would talk about the skewed statistics that will look one way versus the other. And I said, men don't tend to report when women are violent towards men.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, because look at what happens when they do. And I would reference Liza Minnelli and her ex-husband and how that guy came out and said she was abusive to me. And everyone's like, oh, what a loser. Like nothing really happened to Liza Minnelli. Everyone just thought he was like a wuss. It's like,
Yeah,
no.
which is the same thing that happened to Terry Crews.
Yeah, it's like that movie Bernie.
Oh yeah.
The one with Jack Black.
Jack Black.
It's a weird show.
It was a weird show.
It's cool. A cool idea though. Like when you finish, you're like, wait a second. Everyone was just the real people except those three.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't remember
Documentary
that.
movie.
Yeah, Jack Black and Matthew McConaughey and what's her name?
Weezer.
Whatever.
The lady who plays Weezer in Steel Magnolias.
The old lady. But
What is her name?
Those ones were actors, and there's a couple other actors, but like all the people
Shirley
they interviewed,
MacLaine?
yeah, Shirley MacLaine. The people
Yeah.
they interviewed, and the people, it's like actually people who were like the guy in the bar or in the restaurant who's talking about. He's describing Texas. That's a real dude. He wasn't an actor.
Yeah. And the best line from a real dude when he's describing Shirley MacLaine's character. He's like, man, she'd rip you a brand new 3-bedroom, 2-bath, double wide a-hole in 2 seconds.
Man, I like the way Matt and Matt's head always have the same man. Could have used more of that Mike guy. All right. So
now,
I bring up that quote because my client he took real issue. He's like, I don't like that. I don't like that. That men are always kind of like, it's always a dude who does that. So all men are bad. And I was like, yeah, but
well, I think the position that we take on it, just like that, I think that's part of the problem, that like that lends to more sense of insecurity around it. Like we don't get enraged about these things.
Like, yeah, like we don't, as men, we don't stand up and say, what the crap is wrong with you?
Yeah, I mean, I think some people do, but I think
As
like
a
generally
whole,
our first response is like, well, like not me, right?
yeah,
Not all men,
that dude's messed up.
But I wonder why we don't lean more into like, that's horrible and we need to do something about it as men.
Yeah, I think that it is interesting because there are people who do. Like I look at it and I think something is wrong with what we're doing to men, to like young men, to boys, and how we raise them and how they get to points like this, and we got to do something about that. But I'm not necessarily. I mean, I'm a therapist, but I'm not necessarily doing anything about it. And it's not necessarily the way we all think. Like we're not all thinking, hey, we got to change something. Let's. We tend to think, well, that guy was messed up. I'm not messed up.
Yeah, like it's a one-off lone wolf thing. But
yeah.
I also think, I don't know why I'm getting like a ton of Terry Real stuff in my algorithms lately, but
stop watching.
He said, like, you know, we live in a culture that I can't remember the way he worded it, something like we're not a relationship cherishing culture. Like we're just highly individualistic.
Yeah.
But also he said, you know, we're a patriarchal culture, which I think a lot of people immediately are like, that's just like a hot button word now.
Yeah.
But he's like, which really just means we're a dominance culture.
Okay.
So basically, like, if I feel, you know, threatened or shamed or whatever, like I will dominate you. Like that's how I regain control and power. And I think so much of these horrific things are like coming from a place of like, I'm going to dominate somebody, right? And when we've in the violence class and stuff, when you talk about like cases of rape and things like that, and like blaming the victim and talking about like, well, what was she wearing, as though it's something like sexually driven, versus like, no, this is just power and violence. Like this isn't like, oh my gosh, I'm so turned on that, you know. So I think a lot of the things that we talk about that are horrible things that men do, it's like I'm reclaiming dominance over something in some way. And why are we so prone to dominance versus like some sort of collaboration, if that makes sense, or healing or other things? And I don't think there's any way to say that you can eradicate all of these things completely, but I do think it does. I don't know that it makes me feel ashamed to be a man, like we talked about. I don't feel like, but I do wonder if like if we take strong enough stands and like helpful stands against it. Does that make sense?
Yes. Because I don't feel ashamed to be a man. I don't like when I get lumped into things because I'm a man.
Yeah, if
where it's like, you men do this, it's like, I don't do that. Don't say that about me. Like, I don't like when people even say men are the worst when they get sick, they turn into total babies. It's like, I don't do that. Go ask my wife. I've never done that. Like, I don't like being lumped in like that, but which nobody does. People have the same issue when it's like, well, you know, all people from Mexico do this. It's like, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think part of it is I don't know, besides teaching my own boys and people that I associate with how to not be dominant I don't know what to do. Like it feels so out of control that it feels kind of hopeless. Like we do breed. It's kind of what happened. This is going to be a little political, but we've talked about this, that there's these just studies they've done about like the men who are attracted to Trump and why they are. For a lot of men, it's like single or divorced men really seem to like him. And it's kind of a dominance type thing. It's like, I'm going back on top then, and Trump's doesn't take any crap from nobody kind of thing. And so I don't know how you fight that. I don't know how to stop that kind of thinking, because except that part of it seems to be that when we are young, we do raise people to think, well, this is wussy behavior and that's masculine behavior. Don't be a wuss. And so how do you change that? But then you get the whole like anti-bullying things that everyone makes fun of, like then everyone's like, oh, he's been cyberbullied. It's like, it doesn't work. I don't know. I feel a little hopeless sometimes. Like, I don't know what to do about that. So I just lament and feel like, gosh, what is wrong with us? So catch us next time on the Man Space. I don't know. I agree with
Mike,
you,
you're about to say something.
Well, it's one of those where I get that and I feel that way too. But I also think, but look at where we are versus where we were. Like the kind of jokes that we made as 10-year-olds. 10-year-olds don't make those jokes anymore. Which means those kids are learning something different. Now, again, are there going to be exceptions to that? Sure. Do I know plenty of guys that, like there's one guy I heard, and I mean, I believe in mental health, and I thought that's a weird statement to make. Makes me think you actually think it's all a crock, because why else would you say it?
He said, I don't, or I do?
No, he said he does. Yeah, but he had to clarify that he does, because he was then going to point out some of the things that were wrong with it. And I was like, right, so you don't really, but I'm sitting right there, and you know what I do for a living. But and I still know, people who, like when I was a teacher, and even as I'm a therapist, even with some men, they're like, oh, so you just sit around and talk about feelings, huh? Or,
I make jokes about that all
teacher.
the time.
Me too, but it's different to make a joke about it versus to see, like I make jokes about being a teacher too.
Well, right.
It's
but the
one thing to make the joke, but the fact that these people aren't joking,
and
they very much kind of think, so you took a lesser man's job.
Yeah, that's why I'm making the joke. It's not a funny joke unless the opposite exists out there. So it's only funny to say I sit around and talk about feelings all day, because it's like weird, man. Dudes don't do that,
And so I think, there's still going to be those exceptions, but again, on the whole, I think looking at the people, looking at the progress, I think, we're not where we were. And it is one of those things where, and I think there's flaws in this way of thinking, which is my own, this is how I currently see things, and I think there's flaws in it. Not that I can readily identify them, but something like this, I think, I'm not in a position. I don't have a platform where I can make or implement big sweeping changes. And even if I did, I don't trust society as a whole right now. That even if I came and said, hey, we have to do something different, I think there'd be too many people who were immediately dismissive of what I had to say. Like I already know, this thing that's been going on in my ward, I think, I already know there are people who think that I take a too soft approach to it. That there just needs to be some some definitive action. And I think, that's not how this crap works. But if you want to keep believing that, I guess, all of my rambling is a very long-winded way to say it happens one at a time.
Yeah.
As a teacher,
starfish.
Right. Well, as a teacher, and that's where I do think there are professions where I think there needs to be more concerted effort.
But as you're saying, though, things like we've improved, and Rob, you're saying like I don't know what to do. Like, what do you think has happened that has led to the improvement? Like improvement, relatively speaking, where we're saying some things like maybe public conversations are different, but then online platforms are even darker.
Yeah.
And like, maybe violent crime is down generally, but then we have these like mass shootings. And pretty consistent, like I don't have stats on this, so I'll just make one up, but I'm just joking. But like I wonder what the percentage would be, because I now have two people that I know who have been around a situation where their relationship ended and then they were violently murdered by the ex. And like, why is that a man's go-to? Not like a man, like not all men go there, right? But like, why? How many of those cases are men murdering the woman when the relationship ends versus the other way around?
The other way around.
Like, why is that our kind of like propensity? More so, a lot more so than women. That when I'm like isolated and rejected, I'm violent and dominant.
I think I don't, like one, like as I contemplate answers to this, it's difficult because none of them, like I find myself doing what I tell clients not to do all the time. I want to find one explanation to kind of.
No, but maybe I was thinking as you're starting to answer, maybe think like, what is our one contribution as therapists? Maybe that's an easier way to tackle this, because we don't have a platform to create big social change and things like that. But like as a therapist working with a man who has the potential to like go to places of a lot of anger, rage, and maybe dominance. Like, what does that guy need from us?
That's where, like, again, it feels like an oversimplified answer to say it, but like, just as I've been like managing anger, like it is like stereotypically men are more prone, right? Like teenage boys, we all grew up hitting each other. Like in our family, except for the time when I punched Rob in the face, we like pretty much like it was from waist to neck you could hit, but like you didn't like arms, legs, but you didn't really do torso. You never did face except for the one time. Which ironically was not done in anger. But it is one of those, and like as I'm looking at this situation going on in my personal life, I was talking to someone and just kind of said, hey, I'm sorry for the experience you're having. It sucks. And the response was, I'm fine. And I thought, but you're not fine. Like, and I don't see how pretending like this isn't a big deal is beneficial. And like, I've thought a lot about the whole, why do men hide? And I think, yeah, we still do it. We still have a thing where we will hide from the emotion we're feeling because we don't want to own it. We don't want to say this sucks. We don't want to say that I'm scared of this. We don't want to say whatever. And so we just pretend we're not. And you can only do that for so long before something sets you off. And it's not going to be something that's justifiable. It's going to be something stupid. But it'll just be that one thing too many. And that's going to set us off. And so teaching a guy like one, I don't know, trying to teach people like, look, anger might be socially acceptable, which is the dumbest thing ever, but it is. But it shouldn't be. Like, these kinds of, like, the way you manage these things is not okay. It's not good for you. It's not good for the people around you. Like, nobody feels better when that kind of anger is present. But helping them see that is a trickier thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that, to me, like, as I, like when I work with people who get really angry, I'll often just be like, why are you so angry at this? Like, it doesn't seem like something that should warrant this level of a reaction. So what am I missing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I have been leaning into more for myself and for men in general is not like it is, Mike, what you're talking about, like, okay, why are you angry at this? But trying to get them to pay attention to, like, hey, what do you actually feel?
Yeah.
And teaching them, like, not to say share your feelings. I think men tend to shy away from that, but just to say, hey, speak up for yourself, man. If you don't like it, then say I don't like this. Like, just learning to say that, and to I think that's a big step in learning to regulate your emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Now, admittedly, some extreme cases, sometimes I think there's more than just learning to regulate an emotion. Like extreme cases of horrifying murders, multiple murder, or mass shootings, or rape. I think you might be talking more than like, hey, learn to share your feelings when you're sad.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think in the bigger picture of just men in general and trying to change a culture of men, I think it matters to, as a therapist, to try to do my part to say, hey, dude, don't, like, when something is going on in your relationship that doesn't feel good to you, you should be going to your wife and saying, hey, we got to talk about this. I don't like what's happening. And not in a, like, you need to stop this, but saying, this doesn't feel good to me. Because I think it matters to validate ourselves rather than decide we're probably wrong because what do we know, or whatever it is. So that is in my head, that's where I've gone, because I've worked with lots of clients who have anger management problems, and they get angry when I say you have emotional regulation problems. They're like, well, I don't. And I'm like, weird that you got angry at me when I said that. But I trying to teach them instead to say, well, do you even know what's, like, sometimes it's even like, do you even know what you want or what you like? Like, maybe, do you know what you want to eat for dinner tonight? And how many men are like, I don't know, I don't think about stuff. I just go think about the stuff I have to do. And so that's even what I mean by speaking up for yourself, is like, hey man, pay attention to what your brain and body are telling you. Like, I think that goes a long way to shifting that kind of stuff for men as a whole. Because then we don't have to shy away and say, I'm talking about my feelings. They can just say, I'm just saying what's going on for me. I'm not saying I'm going to sit in the corner and cry. I'm just saying this doesn't feel good.
Well, and I remember one guy that I worked with where I was talking about that kind of thing, like trying to get him to acknowledge this is what I'm feeling, this is where I'm at. And he got frustrated and he says, like, I'm not just going to walk around and cry all day. And I was like, dude, I don't care if you cry ever. Like, what?
Yeah, why is it one or the other?
Yeah, like, what in what I just said meant cry to you? Like, all I said was acknowledge, like, you're clearly frustrated by this. And then we talked about, like the frustration, the whole mask thing and whatever. And so what else is going on? And I said, and we've discovered some stuff. And I said, why are you not just saying that? This is how I feel. I don't like it. That's saying a lot. Like, just acknowledging that you don't like it is pretty freaking big. You don't have to cry about it. You don't have to have a big, long 30-minute conversation about it. I'm feeling this and I don't like it. But even for him, that was like, it took more than a session to get him to buy into this idea of just acknowledge it.
Yeah, they feel like they're going to end up wallowing in it. It's like, I'm not,
right.
Don't wallow
and I'm like,
in it.
I don't care if you wallow in it. Like,
I don't know, Matt, what's your response to that?
Similar, I think.
Wait, hang on real quick.
What?
Matt, you're not actually like on camera.
Yeah, I don't care. No one watches YouTube anyway.
Just checking.
Because of the way that the thing will, when he's speaking, he will be. He will be. If you pin him on your thing, you'll see he's off to the side, but he's on camera.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead, Matt.
Okay.
I've just like you're saying, there are things to kind of work through emotionally. I think one of the most important ones is, particularly in situations like this, is shame. Like, I've had a few guys where, they've done things in their relationships that were at least escalated, at most violent, all harmful to them, harmful to their partners, abusive in cases, right? And like being able to just say to them, like, what I want to have a conversation with you where you state exactly what you did, because I want you to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't me like, holding some court of justice,
Right.
or like,
Yeah.
But I want you to say it out loud, and then I want you to breathe until your body regulates around that. And after that, how do you feel about it? Right? And it's like, not good.
Yeah.
That's not the person I want to be, right? Sometimes what'll happen is there's a stuckness around like entitlement or indifference, kind of like, well, of course I did that because, she blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, just hold on, say that again. You got to sit with that a little bit. And I think there will always be guys that are just, this can sound bad, but it's like, that dude's kind of a lost cause.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
no, it's not worth
He has no
putting
interest in
anybody at
changing.
risk to try and rescue that dude from the horrific things he's done, right? And maybe he'll come around in his own way, but like, don't get close to that guy. But there are a lot of guys that I think are doing things that are harmful and don't feel good about it, but can't even get to that part of the conversation within themselves. And when they can have that experience of stating it out loud, and like, I'm not judging you as you say it, but I'm also not letting you minimize it. You have to say it exactly as it happened. And I want you to hear it, and I want you to like sit with it, right? And then usually there's, shame, like I feel horrible about it, but also like I have no idea why I do it, how to stop it. The only thing I can think of is if, the people in my life never activate what I just felt. And it's like, well, that's not going to work. Someone's going to activate it, because it's so sensitive. And we're going to have to do some work around that to get to a place where you can get below that shame into, like you're saying, what you're actually feeling. And then you can work through it enough that you can articulate it, like you're saying, right? But it's kind of, we talked about this in a previous episode. I don't know that it's reverse integrity, but it's the opposite direction than we oftentimes think with integrity. We think like, here's what I believe, and I'm trying to align my value or my behavior with that. This is like, my behavior is way far from what I actually value and believe, and it's harmful. Now I just need to make my narrative match what actually happened. We call it accountability, I guess, right? But I think it's a moment of integrity for men where they can say, I can be the one saying what happened, and not like guard myself around the emotion that I feel around that. Like that's the antithesis of shame, right? If you feel bad about that behavior, you're a good person. If you feel indifferent to it, something's off at a deep level, right? So, but I think it's important to kind of like have the words and like the physiological experience match for there to be a settling out.
That's the thing I like about that is it's the idea of, and this is, it's all the same idea to me of like, how do you just teach someone to sit with the feeling they have? Like to acknowledge, like, I did that, and to sit and say, don't react. Like, don't run out of the room. Don't don't go punch somebody. Just sit with that and be like, that kind of blows, but you have to hear it, because then it's like, okay, now what do I do?
Yeah.
But I think being able to quiet ourselves to just sit for a second and say, what do I do with this? I think I haven't. I mean, I've done that with people before. I don't think I've ever thought of it in the context you're saying of like telling someone, I need you to say what you did. Like I've even recently asked somebody like, dude, can you say like, hey, I messed this up? And he said, yeah, I messed this up. I'm like, okay, thank you. Like that matters to say.
Mm-hmm.
I am kind of curious because part of this, and I'm going to shift a little bit. And the person who mentioned this to us was saying, if I remember correctly, was like, what do you do as a man when you feel ashamed of other men? Is that?
Yeah, like guilt by association type of a thing, right? Yeah.
That's something so I was thinking about that because this one thing is like, I did this. How do I acknowledge and accept this? But then it's like, what do you do when it can lead to hopelessness? Like something is wrong with men, and it just takes the right combination of factors for someone to tip and do something psychotic.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go down that hopeless route. So I've got, maybe this is a second try tip, but it's because I think, well, what do you tell somebody? This is how you move past that. Like when you start to lament or the shame by association, like how do you move past that?
I think that similar to what we were just saying, I think hearing something horrible that a man did and hearing people say, like you said, not every man but always a man, or things like that, it probably requires a level of differentiation to be able to say, not me, and I absolutely agree with you, that is horrible.
Yeah.
Right. And I want to be a part of any part of the solution I can be, right? Instead of sometimes what we usually say, which is like, we give some qualifier, or, when someone's like pointing out some bad behavior of some historical figure or something, we might be prone to say like, well, yeah, but did you know this about, it's like, those are both true, but can we sit long enough in agreement that that is horrible? And there's really no amount of good doing that makes up for that. So why does my mind go to like try and balance some scales? I'm not trying to tip it completely in the opposite direction in some of these cases either, but I can just say that I can say that's horrible. Like the Brent Atkinson stuff that we talked about early on. I remember in one of his workshops, he was saying, people were like, well, what do you do when like, somebody's like railing on their partner's behavior, and you're trying to like, you're having an individual session with them and you want to like validate them, but you don't want to mess up your relationship with the other person. And he's like, well, what behavior are we talking about? And they're like listed off some things. He's like, yeah, that's horrible. It's like, it's horrible behavior. And he's like, they're like, well, what if they go tell their spouse that you said that in their individual session? He's like, that's fine. So when the person comes in, I'll be like, yeah, that was horrible. You need to change that. You want to talk about it? Like, and I think most people are like, yeah, the behavior's horrible. So why should we have any qualms about just saying that, right? And I think that we probably need to, especially with like the women in our lives that feel more vulnerable about, I don't know any woman who doesn't feel vulnerable about all these things we're talking about, right? So every woman in your life, like when she's talking about this stuff, like that should be our first comment. That is awful. That's horrible, right? And that needs to stop. And I don't have any answers, but I'm with you in alignment against this type of world and this type of behavior. Yeah. And, from there, I think maybe you could get into conversations about understanding what's going on and some of the deeper things that might heal some people and prevent some of this stuff, but also acknowledging some people don't want to be healed, or they're not even like close to that, and they're going to keep doing this, and we need to make sure that I'm a support to you and protecting you against that, and I can stand up to that. Yeah. So, and in other ways, right? Like, I always admire a guy when you see guys where it's not even like horrible behavior necessarily, but somebody says something that's just like, leaning in that direction. And then the guy's like, dude, knock it off.
Yeah.
with the crap you don't.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he's like, oh yeah, sorry, that's the alpha guy in our tribe, so I'll just listen to him. So I think that there's important work that we can do just in small ways too, socially, right? People, trying to like knock somebody down a rung who's already, when it's like us, busting each other's chops, totally different thing. But when it's like, hey dude, that guy always gets picked on, knock it off.
Yeah.
Like, or that guy's always like not feeling like he really belongs here. Why are you making him feel like, are you like next in line to being kicked out of the group, so you have to push him down? Like, I don't know. I think there's just lots of little things we could do.
I mean, along with what Matt said, I think there's two things. Like, one, I think it's validation, and there's that part of me that, as you were describing, these kids, well, but what if they go back and tell their spouse? I think, yeah, the focus has become like right or wrong as opposed to experience. And sometimes the focus does need to be right or wrong. Like, there is behavior that's just wrong. Like, that's the way it is. But oftentimes, I think right, but understanding the experience, you're validating the experience this woman has had. And it is, I think you're right, Matt, totally, like, I would have no hesitation being like, yeah, that's terrible behavior. And I would also have no hesitation saying to the guy, yeah, that's terrible behavior. You can't do that. But I do think there's benefit in recognizing, and this gets dicey, so it feels like it might be a little controversial, what I'm about to say. There's benefit in separating the behavior from the person. Now, if this is like repeated behavior, that's different. But if it's, like, if it's a something that feels out of character for the person, something that whatever, there's benefit in separating out the behavior and the person. Like, this behavior is bad behavior. I'm not making a judgment or a commentary on the person, but the behavior is for sure wrong. And that's like, there are things where I think, yeah, sometimes I don't feel like I have enough information to make a judgment one way or another on the behavior. But I do think there's benefit in kind of separating out behavior from people. Again, that gets really tricky because it oftentimes, right, like, I don't know, it gets tricky. That's a really dicey thing. And
well, I think it's only dicey if you then say, therefore, they shouldn't have this consequence. I think, no, the behavior is bad.
right,
You might still be a good person
comes no matter what.
Yeah, but you still have to have this consequence because you did this thing. Like, it's just like with infidelity in couples work. It's like, look, you cheated. I need you to acknowledge that. But then we can look and say, what was going on? How do we change this so it's different going forward? But I'm not going to say, oh, therefore it's okay that you cheated. I think there's a difference in those.
Yes. And that's, I think that's where, I think you're right. I think that's why it feels a little bit dodgy to me, is because it feels like, like I'm somehow excusing the behavior of the person.
Right.
It's like, no, like, and I've said it to couples working with infidelity, like, this idea of, look, I can validate how you, like, what you felt like. I can validate for you that, like, yeah, I can see that for you it felt like there was no other alternative. And then I will tell them, but there was. You always have another choice, and you chose, like, to go and cheat on your spouse. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You had a different option and you didn't take it. You took the cheat on your spouse option, and you have to own that now. But yeah,
I think my my tip is like as you guys talk about this, I agree. Like, it's kind of like a morphing of the two plus something else on the end. I don't know what that means, but like this idea of when I actually wrote down, you have to like Matt, as you're saying to somebody like, that's horrible, like that's terrible. One of the things you have to be able to do as a dude in that situation is know that like they're not accusing you of anything. They're not saying, and therefore you by extension are horrible. It's like, I'm not that guy. That is horrible behavior. You have to be able to disentangle yourself from that and say, and recognize, even if it feels like they're not trying to say you're just like this. At most, all you're hearing from them really is they're freaked out by all men. Like, I don't know who I can trust. And that has nothing to do with you necessarily. Or if it does, change that behavior so you're someone they can trust by saying, I agree with you. That's horrible behavior. I do think it matters, though, to try to like move differently within the sphere of men after that. I think that has to happen. You have to say that's horrible behavior. If you're in a group and you call somebody out and say, hey, stop being a jerk to him. Like, you're always rude to him. Stop doing that. Be careful then, the person you just said, stop doing that, to then say, now come back and be part of the group with the rest of us. Yeah. I'm not trying to ostracize you now by doing that. I'm just saying, knock it off. Right. Now we're still buddies. Like, I'm calling out the behavior, kind of what you're talking about, Mike. I'm calling out the behavior, but we're still friends. Don't do that crap. Yeah. That's not cool. I think it matters too, to also kind of like just thinking about how much it matters for humans, like in all scenarios. Maybe I'm thinking about this one because I drive around in Austin and Houston, which are like the worst places to drive. It's like, hey, be nicer. Like, look people in the eye and say thank you. Like, be kind to people and show that I'm not that kind of man. And there's lots of us that aren't that way. If you start to feel a little hopeless, like I do sometimes, think of all the men that you know that are really good dudes who are trying to be good people and put good out in the world. And then try to do that to other people around you. Like, there are going to be some people who are kind of, for lack of a better word, irredeemable. Like, that guy doesn't want to change. He can't, he's beyond it. And if you're not in direct contact with that person to do anything about that, then just start putting good back in your life and going forward, like saying, no, I don't stand up for stuff that isn't good. Yeah. Or sorry, I don't. Yeah, you get the idea. I stand up against it. Yeah. Like, and so when you see things that aren't good, do something about it. If you see somebody being a jerk, call them out on it. Yeah. Like, I sometimes, it's always kind of funny because I sometimes do have this hesitation because of what I do when I watch couples fighting sometimes in public. And it starts to look like a dude's getting a little aggressive. I'll like walk over and stare and get close, but I'm not going to jump in and interrupt because I'm like, okay, I don't know the whole context of this. And he's not physical yet. And she's doing stuff too. So it's like, but I want to make sure that they know, like, hey, I'm standing here watching you people. So knock it off. Like, because it's not my business yet. As soon as something happens and I'm like, hey, dude, back off. Then I would hope that I'm going to walk over and say, hey, back off. Mm-hmm. But at least trying to find places where I can say, hey, that's not cool. I'm not going to, like, don't do that. Yeah. And across the board, and trying to model what I think we should be doing as much as I can. Mm-hmm. And as for sure, if you have kids, teaching your kids consistently, like, hey, this is how you treat other humans and this is how you treat women. Yeah. Hopefully it's the right direction, because, man, I hear some things about how things that I hear dads telling their kids, or they were told by their dad, about how they treat women. I'm like, what? What do they think of women? They have daughters. What's wrong with them? Like,
what have you heard?
Oh, just terrible things like, kind of like, well, women aren't as smart as, things. It's like, they're not as smart, or women should be cleaning. And that's kind of it's like, what is wrong with you? Yeah. That stuff makes me very angry. Yeah. So in short, to me, I think you're right, Mike, because sometimes when people say, Matt, early on in the podcast too, not this episode, but the show, you used to talk about how, like, I don't know, I think there's a lot of good happening. I'm like, is there? Like, sometimes I feel like we haven't improved. Because, like, when you say we don't make those same jokes, I'm like, actually, kids have already tipped back the other direction and they make tons of jokes that I'm like, I used to say that when I was your age. I thought you guys weren't cool with that now, but now you guys are cool with it again? Because it just, the culture tips
it's back and forth.
Well, yeah, and I do see. Admittedly, I haven't been in a classroom in 7 years. So
yeah, but I do still see a lot of dudes who are good dudes. And I think actually
Yeah.
the eye contact thing and like being cool to each other and knowing I don't have to engage in some sort of like pissing contest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can be my buddy. It's cool.
Yeah.
It makes it goes a long way for me to feel like, hey, I can see the loneliness in men. We're all struggling.
Yeah.
And so let's just be friends. And that actually feels a little hopeful to me. Like it's cool.
Yeah. I think that's just like a really big, important, proactive wave that's hopefully happening more. I think it is. But yeah, how many guys would you catch in that might end up doing something else? And then you just never find out that they were thinking that. But the what was that? We talked about this on another episode too. The book, the Boy Crisis by
Is that the one that
something Farrell?
that Steve recommended a long time ago? Beef did?
Maybe
not. Keep going.
We read it, or we talked about it, and I think it was in a podcast episode, he was saying that at some event, or somebody emailed him that said, I really want to thank you for your book. This is like kind of sensitive information, but I literally had a plan to go like shoot up my school. And then I read your book and I felt so seen and validated that I scrapped my plan.
Yeah. Just that.
Mm-hmm.
Like saying like, hey man, we're in this, like with each other, and trying to convey that even non-verbally to somebody is a way of saying it's cool, man. Like I don't want you to go through crap. I think that does a lot for somebody to say.
Well, and I was going to say, I think to your point about separating, behavior from the person, I think sometimes a lot of those efforts to validate the deeper struggle that a lot of men experience gets put in competition, with women's struggle, and then it gets slapped down, or it gets, maybe there's fear that it'll be used as an excuse. But I think more often than not, it's the antidote to violence, right? It's the antidote to a lot of these things. And if it's more normalized that, men aren't bringing this up to somehow have another form of dominance, right? Like I have it harder than you, so you owe me blank, right? Definitely will be people that do that no matter how you approach it. That's just human nature. But I think there probably will be a larger swath of people that are caught by the benefits of it. So it's important. You know what else is real important?
Drink store?
Drinks and darts.
So then come back next time and catch us on the Man Space. Dart champion? I don't know. Getting lazy on these.